Okay, so this is our first tutorial on how we might use a sketch to create an Illustrator logo. So before we begin, you need to download the reference image that is in the bio of this video. It's also available on your Google Classroom. Once you've done that, come back into Illustrator, come over to the left here and select New File. We're going to make a custom size document for the context of this tutorial. We're going to call it Logo Sketch 1. And to create this custom size, we're going to click this little drop down here and select pixels. We're going to type 1000 in the width and we're going to type 1000 in the height. Once you have that done, just click create and in we go. So the first thing we're going to want to do is import that reference photo. So that's probably saved to your downloads folder. So all you need to do is open that up. For the context of my location, it's on my desktop. But once you've found the image, all you need to do is click it and drag it and drop it into your Illustrator software like that. Once we're in, we are going to position the logo. I'm going to resize mine slightly. So if you hold shift, remember it will keep the shape uniform. So I'm going to make mine around 820. And I'm just going to put it in the middle of my artboard, like you can see there. We're going to turn this into a template. So to do that, you need to double click this little thumbnail here, a little photo that's next to the layer. We're going to rename it reference. And if you tick this little template box here, what it will do is it will reduce the opacity of the image and it will create a nice little template for us to work off when we are creating our logo. Once you've done that, we are going to start creating the logo. So we're going to create a new layer and we are just going to call it outline. And this is what we're going to use to create the circle of the object. So we're going to come over to the left here. We're going to right click and we're going to use the ellipse tool. You can also press the letter L. We're then again, by holding shift, going to draw the outline of this circle like I've done here. So if you're following along with my sizes, my circle is about 500 pixels high and 500 pixels wide. Once you are happy with the position of it, we are going to turn off the fill. So you just click this little white box here, come down to the white box with the red line through it, and that will delete the fill. And then we are going to up the stroke to about 12. So as you can see here, I've probably made my circle a little bit too big. So I'm just going to scale it down again by holding shift. So my final size is around 465. Going to move it into position as best as I can, but I'm generally pretty happy with how it's looking so far. The next thing we're going to do is create the text layer. So we're going to create the L. So we need to create a new layer to do this, and we're just going to call it text. Once you've done that, we are going to draw a relatively large text box by using the type tool. So you can press T to activate this tool, or you can just come over to the left and click on it. Oh, make sure you have the text layer selected so you don't have what happened to me there. Drag over the L like so, and you should have text come into the box like that. We're going to press the letter that we want to use in the context of the tutorial. For me, that is L, but you are welcome to choose whatever letter you want. We're going to press Command A or Control A to select all, and then we are going to change the typeface of this text by coming over to the character panel here, and you just want to choose a blocky typeface. Something like Arial Black will work. I'm going to use this one here. Once you are happy with your font choice, we're going to resize this. I'm guesstimating that around 320 will probably be a suitable size for this. But like before with the circle, you're just going to position and then resize and get it how you want it. So for the context of my logo right now, it's looking at around 340 is a good size for this. So once you have something like that, we're going to get on to making the pencil. So we're going to create a new layer to do so, and we're just going to call it pencil. We are then going to turn off the text and the outline. And we're going to use this line segment tool over here. So you just press left click that tool there. And then we're just going to clicking and dragging go over the outline of this pencil. So I'm going to start in the top left here, click and drag. Make sure you select the anchor point when you go onto your next shape. So if I start here, make sure that you are coming all the way to that anchor point like so. And all the way to that anchor point like so. Cool. So once you've just done that outline, we're going to select all of those lines and we're going to turn up our stroke to 8. We are then going to click this little line segment tool here and we're going to make the corners of these shapes rounded and the caps rounded. And that will create a nice uniform shape like we have here. We can close that tool now. We're then going to come back to the line segment tool and we're just going to do the next part. So we're going to do these 2 lines here. So 1 and 2. Again, doesn't need to be perfect. We're going to do the lines here and here. And then we're going to do this little zigzag at the front. And we'll finish it off with the little triangle cap like so. So that is the desired shape we are going after. So once you're happy with your shape, you just want to check the anchor points within the individual lines within this shape. And you want to make sure the end parts are extending particularly, because it will just make errors when it comes to the coloring of this part of the logo. So once you've done all that, you just want to use the magic wand tool. So you can left select it over here, or you can just press Y. And then if we click the shape like that, you'll see it turns it into one uniform object. So now we can get onto the coloring of the pencil. So we're just going to come down here and we're going to use the live paint bucket tool. So if you right click there, you can select it, or you can just press K. And then we're going to start coloring this object. So the back of the pencil, I'm going to make black. So to do that, I'm just going to click in this box here, click in this box here. And there we go. For the tip of the pencil, so I've just noticed that I missed a line here. For the tip of the pencil, we're going to go with a light shade of orange. So to do that, double click here, come to orange, and find a shade that you like. If you want to, you can just type in the swatch values of this color that I made earlier. So if you type in those digits and that letter there, it will give you the same shade of orange that I have. So we're going to go a light shade of orange on the end by pressing K. We're going to go a dark shade of orange in the middle. This is the values of my dark shade of orange. They're going to go there, there, and there. And then we're going to select the whole shape. And we're going to change the stroke now to be white. Cool. Once you've done that, we are going to turn on the other layers and you'll start to see how the logo is forming. So at this point in time, we can now delete our reference image as we no longer need it. And now we are just coming into the final stages of this logo design, which is just going to be adding some color to the circle. So if you want, I'm happy for you to finish the tutorial at this point in time because I think what we have here looks quite nice. But if you want to see how to add a color to the circle, keep watching along. So you're going to want to select the outline layer and then select the outline like so. I'm going to add a gradient to this. So if we come over to fill and then we select this little box here, we will get the option for a gradient. You should have a default preset that is this orange gradient here. I'm going to select that. And I'm going to go with, I think, left to right. But if you want to change the way the gradient looks, you just select these different tools here. I'm just going to go with this default left to right gradient for now. And if you want to change any of the colors of this, all you need to do is double click these and then you can adjust as you wish. But again, I'm just going to go with default. And I think at that point in time, I'm pretty happy with how this logo is looking. There's a few more things you might want to add. So if you select the logo like this, you could also come up to effect and put something like a drop shadow on. So if you come down to stylize, you could add a drop shadow just to make it pop that little bit more. So I think that looks quite nice. Maybe delete that line there. Looks a little bit better. Or delete it off that line there. There we go. Looks a little bit better. Another thing you could do is apply a stylized effect. So by selecting it, go effect, go artistic. Some of these can be quite nice. And also under distort. Diffuse glow can look quite nice sometimes. Or just using diffuse glow on the outline. Gives a kind of vintage feel. Cool, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I think the best of those options was probably the drop shadow. And then if you made a little error like me, just make sure that you turn that effect of on that line there, and it will give a nice flat appearance like that. So once you're happy with how your logo is looking, maybe just add your name so I know that it is your work. You'll have to change the size of this. Add your name to your logo in a size that I can read. So 10's probably too small. There we go. Put it somewhere that you like. And then we're going to export it. So we're just going to go File, Export. In the context of this, we're just going to do Export for Screens. We are going to do All, include the bleed. And then for this location here, do it to a multimedia folder, such as what I've done here. And make sure that you have the Create Subfolders option unticked. If you click Export Artboard, you'll see that it opens a location for you to see your finished logo. So that wraps up this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I hope it was enjoyable.